Yes.
There
Hi.
we-
Hi, we're recording. Hi, it's Andrea Quagenti.
Hi, and I'm Angela Young,
And
and
yeah,
I guess we're here today to talk about conscious parenting and self-directed education for our Facebook group and for YouTube. So I know you wanted to start it perhaps with a meditation.
yes, this is one of my favorite topics, and I think really the best way to start is with a centering exercise. So we can put our feet flat on the ground and open our arms so that they're uncrossed. Um, yes, we can get our back and our spine straight, but also relaxed. We can relax by taking a few deep breaths. If you're comfortable, you can close your eyes. Breathing in and out. And the meditation I chose for today is a light bath. So this is like an ultra simple way to relax and align our energy, kind of energize ourselves a little bit. So we can start by rubbing our hands together and visualizing our heart opening. As we're rubbing our hands, we can gently start to pull our hands apart and notice the subtle energy that we activated. We can gently move our hands, feeling this ball of energy, and notice our connection to Source. Now we can relax our hands and put them on our laps with our palms up. We can imagine a big ball of light from the heavens shining down endless amounts of light just for us. We can imagine that we're each in our own beam of light coming down through the crown of our heads, straight down to our feet, and into the core of Mother Earth. At the center of our heart, we can imagine a ball of light. As we receive the light from Source, from above, we can imagine our heart light growing bigger and bigger until it fills our entire being. We can breathe and receive this beautiful unlimited light energy all around us, within us, so that our aura is perfectly round, sealed, and full. We replace any darkness with this beautiful luminous light as we allow ourselves to flow with the universe. And we can come back into the room. We can open our eyes and wiggle our fingers and toes. And now we have given ourselves a light bath. And this is from Rebecca Campbell.
Oh,
Yes.
really nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. We're all here.
Yeah, it's a great start.
Yeah. Now, so just so everyone knows, maybe we'll just tell a little bit about our stories first, how we got into conscious parenting, and then you can tell us all about conscious parenting and some tips, and we'll see what questions come up.
Sounds great.
So personally, I got into conscious parenting when I became pregnant. I was looking for ways to become more peaceful, more present. I was really worried, actually, that I would repeat some unkind family parenting strategies that I didn't like as a child. So I wanted to kind of reform into being I guess the first part is being an attached parent, so being aware and really connected to my child. And I wanted to be able to support her in a way that she felt loved and she could just kind of naturally grow and be herself. So and I found conscious parenting or mindful parenting to be very, very helpful. I'm not worried anymore about me losing my temper or losing control. I feel like a good parent, and I sleep well knowing that I kind of did my work and I did the transformation. And now I'm excited to talk more about it and give some guidance to other people as well.
Mm, that's beautiful. Yeah, for me, I guess when I became a parent, I I had been very interested in spirituality for several years, and when I had my daughter, I was in my mid-20s, and you know, I honestly felt like I had a really good grasp on spirituality and my conscious work. However, when I did have a baby, it seemed like a lot of the my old repressed stuff that I felt like I had worked through would pop back up. And my daughter was showing me challenges that, you know, maybe I honestly felt like I was not equipped to address, even with all of my spiritual work and study. So I guess that's when I really dove into specifically conscious parenting, and also, I mean, there's a couple phrases that get used for styles of parenting like this. Positive parenting is one of them, which
Mhm.
is very like tactic oriented, like um, it has like action steps and strategies. Conscious parenting, which is more like, I guess, working on yourself through the relationship with your child.
Mhm.
And then which also led through my interest in especially channeled work like Abraham Hicks, Bashar, the Law of One material. This especially led to my investigation into unschooling and alternative types of schooling because it seems to follow suit with that. So I guess having a child has been a complete transformation for me, even from someone who felt they were already experienced in that spiritual world. It has been even more of a transformation. I'm still learning to this day, but I'm happy to share, I guess, things that I've picked up along the path.
Yay. I
Yeah.
like how you say that too. And I always consider myself a work in progress. And I think hindsight is 2020. I feel like I pick up some skills and I use them, and then, I kind of drift off. So I'm always open to learning new strategies, and, that I feel like our children are here, they're here for us all the time. There's this constant opportunity to improve our relationship, and just you can, I feel like presence, to really be present, is endless. You can be, you can always be more present, and there's always new ways to show love and compassion. So
Right. Yeah. I really feel like every day is part of the journey. And even the things that I learned once, it's almost like I just have to keep them in practice and keep them in my mind. And especially now, so the time that this video is being filmed, we're in the maybe the tail end or the beginning of the end of this quarantine situation. So I know that this time has been perhaps more challenging for parents everywhere. I know it's brought up challenges in my home where you know, parts of myself that I maybe felt I had already done the work on start to peep up, just because we are in such a close container with everybody. There's maybe less breaks, there's less wiggle room perhaps. So we really have to be, or life is calling us to be more on our game and to really be connected with ourselves more fully, because it's very easy to get tipped off your center. There's not as many breathing points, I guess. Um, so it's been eye-opening for me over these past couple months, and I really felt like I could perhaps relate even more, going through my own challenges again, just in this little mini world, that I could really relate and had a window into the challenges that everybody goes through. Um, and we also found out just a little personal information about me. I found out that we're expecting a baby as well in January, and so I found myself getting a little more tired. I felt some body shifts even, and I was aware of that. But anyways, what it brought up was just some of my stuff, some of my shadow that was still there, but perhaps was just easier to deal with at different times. It's a very interesting little phase that I went through. But the silver lining is that I think I really got a window into the common challenges that we all go through on any level. And so I guess that's what I'm here for, to offer, is the fruits of that learning experience.
Awesome. Yay. So how do you define conscious parenting, and what's an easy way for, people to understand what exactly it is?
Sure. Um, so there are so many aspects to conscious parenting that I found it easiest to explain when I sort of break it down into these components. So what I like to call conscious parenting, for the sake of conversation, is specifically, it's working primarily on the parent. It's taking the focus off of changing the child or working on the child's behavior, and turning all of that attention on yourself. And it has everything to do with looking at, what is our opinion of what a parent is exactly, and getting down to all of our belief systems. It's looking into what programs we're running, basically. So what was our childhood like? What was our parenting experience that we had with our parents? What was that like? What type of schooling did we do? We look at all of these things to really find out, okay, are we running some unconscious programs that perhaps we're not aware of, that aren't serving us or our child? And then once we do that, then we dive into the mirror that our child is to us. So this has to do with, I'm sure if anyone's familiar with spirituality, the concept that life is your mirror, that life sort of is your guru. So the learning lessons that are relevant for you tend to appear naturally in your experience. So this is no different with our child. So our child, a lot of times when we're labeling challenging behavior with our child, what it really is a mirror to us. There's some juice there. There's some nugget of wisdom there that we can learn from. And that typically has to do with our biases, our expectations, our belief systems, all of these things that we can dive into. I'm not completely saying that our children are correct sometimes when they are acting out of alignment, and we can notice that out of alignment-ness. What I'm saying is how we respond to that, how we decide to show up, how it makes us feel as a mirror to that behavior is everything to do with us. And that's the work of the conscious parent. So that's really a summary of what I define as conscious parenting. There are a couple, like the things that I'm passionate about, basically. It's conscious parenting. It's all conscious parenting, but for sake of conversation, the way that I like to label it, so that we can explain it clearly, it's conscious parenting, then there's positive parenting, and then there's what I like to call, it's like empowering your child, which has to do with self-directed education style. Like, how do we, after we've done all this work, right, through the conscious parenting, and then learning how to set boundaries and all that stuff, then it's the exciting part, which is really empowering the child through education. So
Awesome. I love that you say that, because I'm so excited about unschooling and self-directed education. I've been using it. Let's see. So I've been homeschooling / unschooling. This is our second full year. And then previously we did Montessori, which is child-led. And my daughter is just independent, and she kind of has a typical personality to be self-directed. So I was being as conscious as I could when I watching my daughter grow, and say, what's the best education for her and what's the best lifestyle for us? Because now it's like, from being conscious and being positive, we're like, we've built this solid foundation, and now it's like, what do we do? What's a good fit? So we're in that kind of fun education style, which is just freedom and travel, and it is so exciting. But I think it's important to acknowledge the foundation. And really, for me, conscious parenting has been the foundation, because I need to have boundaries, and I have to stay within our budget, and we can't. It's not. It's not. I don't know what the word. It's not just like fun all day, all night. We're not party. We have to eat. We have to clean our home. We have, if I say, okay, let's travel, like let's do the whole world. So there are just boundaries, and we're able, because of learning and practicing, we can be so free, because we have the foundation and the boundaries kind of set. Yeah, so thank
Boundaries are
you.
an interesting topic. I have to admit, in my parenting journey, I was so like resistant to boundaries at the beginning. I found myself in this place of just wanting to be all positive and the freedom base. That's very attracted to that type of thing. And I think that's beautiful. However, my learning experience with boundaries was a learning curve because of that. I had to learn, what is an appropriate boundary. Maybe I went through that process of giving, perhaps too much freedom, although I don't think that anything is ever wrong. I think that everything's always for learning, but I had to go through my own experience of there actually are times where proper boundaries need to be put in place. And that's how we provide a I guess conscious parenting or conscious learning experience for our child. I think there's a quote from Bashar, and I'm gonna butcher this right now, but but it's something like this: like sometimes the most unconditionally loving thing you can do for your child, or not for your child, this is for anybody, for somebody, is to show them a boundary. Because if you are not being a proper mirror to them, then they have no reason to change. So things like that have helped me, I guess, with my perspective on boundaries.
Awesome. I'm glad I feel like boundaries are like the yin and yang to freedom, because we have to be our authentic self. If my daughter is saying, let's skip dinner and have ice cream, and I know that that's not going to be comfortable for me physically, I have to say, I'm not comfortable with that. So I can show up whole and full and true. And I feel like I have more say, because we're not in a particular system. I have more say. If I want to check out a new hiking trail or go meditate with the tree, I tell her that, what mom wants is important too. And she says, okay, well, I want to go to the playground. You want to do your tree thing. We'll do both. And then we can kind of be in a mutual relationship, which has been, that's been kind of like the sweet sauce for us, is that I think the boundaries has only allowed us to be more of ourselves and feel more comfortable to say, hey, what do I actually really want to do? So it's been fun for me as a parent also.
Oh, I really like the way you put that. I think that that's a really good way to articulate that. Yeah, like the work that I do with boundaries, it was basically discovering, rather than having like a preconceived idea of like what the boundary is going to be and then imposing that onto the child, just letting it show up in the moment, and then doing things for the sake of whether it's safety or whether it's following your inner light, what is true for you, but really bring it, because I think a lot of us are imbalanced actually in the other way too, where we have so many like preconceived ideas of what a child should or shouldn't do, and these are all the boundaries that we actually have to let go of, because that becomes a breeding ground for perhaps our child to be more rebellious, because they pick up on that vibrationally, like, wow, this isn't serving me, so I'm going to show you right now, and that mirror is going to be rebellion. Or the opposite. Sometimes it's them losing their light a little bit and more conforming. I think those are the two polar opposites, because they've been restricted so much that they start to ignore their own guidance, right? And flip to the other side. I mean, in my personal journey, it was I think it was less about imposing too many unnecessary boundaries and possibly ignoring my natural boundaries, and then learning like, okay, we actually are not going to jump all over the furniture all the time. I have 3 kids, because the furniture is going to get ruined, and that's not financially, that's not in the budget right now to be buying a new couch every like that sort of thing. Like, this is going to be a real boundary. We're not going to do that, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and I have a slide that I created from Dr. Shafali. Are you familiar with her?
Yeah, very
Okay.
familiar.
I forget if it was her first or second book, but it's so simple. So it's 3 boundaries, or is it 4? Respect for self, respect for education in whatever form the family chooses, respect for the home, keeping it tidy, and so it's self, home, each other, education, for a community. So maybe it's like 4 or 5, and it's just so simple. But it helps me as a parent to just stay in a good place when I say, okay, now we're cleaning. This is what we do. This is important that we keep our home, clean and neat. We take care of the things that we have. So yeah, all good stuff. Yay. Well, can you tell? So you're a parenting coach. So for anyone listening, and even just for me to know how you help people with these, topics that we're talking about.
Sure. I find that in a strategy way, like in a process working with people, typically we can find where most of the working points is to just start conversation and find out where the challenges are. Typically our challenges hold all of the information to where we need to work, like in the present moment. It's kind of genius how life is created this way, so that we can actually dive into these situations and really pinpoint, okay, where are the balancing points that we need to do. So I did dive into an explanation of what conscious parenting is. That's a lot of the work that we do. Another component of that is, it is the boundary work of what I like to call positive parenting. So this is when we really sort of shift the paradigm of perhaps the stuff that have to do with parenting that is more challenging, like the boundary holding, like how do we help guide our child, and what is guiding our child rather than being an authoritarian parent, really noticing where their learning lessons are. We can just watch, right, and let life show us where they have certain perhaps challenges, not just challenges, but also where they excel at, and just notice. And then through that natural process of their life, notice how we can show up for them. So that includes, I guess, extensive research on how children learn and how the brain operates, and things like that. And then also, as a family, we've gone through a I guess, educational transformation. My kids did go to Montessori for years, and then we did charter homeschool in the home. So I was educated in the public school system, so I have a pretty good grasp of that. And then we did unschooling at home, and they go to a Sudbury school. So we've sort of like been around in that way and been through that paradigm shift transformation. And that's also what I help parents go through, because I know that when we start to change education, a lot of the problems that we face are really I think faith-based. So we just wonder, are we doing this right? Because it's not a path that's really well trodden. It's something that we are creating and that is new. So providing support to parents in that way, because we have gone through some of those processes and are still going through, just sort of giving that support that, this does work. This is something that is real, that is good for your child, that sort of thing. It's interesting. I wanted to bring up a point. I know I touched on like brain science, and this was just in my mind this morning. So I was thinking that perhaps it's relevant for this talk that we're having right now. But I find myself, when I'm studying the traditional, I guess, psychological approaches to parenting, they focus a lot on the actual physical makeup of the body and the makeup of the brain. And I don't know if you're familiar, but a huge proponent of that is the analogy. They say the upper brain and the lower brain, and that when you're dealing with children, the upper brain is not completely fully developed, and many times you'll notice that children feel their emotions very strongly but might not have full complete control, like conscious control, being able to self-regulate. This is like the lesson and the learning lesson of the child. They go through childhood learning to self-regulate to become an adult. And I guess the approach is then to really notice when your child is in these different states, and then approach them appropriately. Like when they're in that lower emotional state, you know, that higher reasoning and logic is not going to stick, because vibrationally they're just not in that place. So the point would be to sort of calm them and try to get them into that other vibration state, so that then you can introduce perhaps logic and reasoning. But I find it very interesting because as a person in the spiritual community, as I'm sure you are, and people are going to watch this, they probably are as well. You know, I've always had this belief that we're not our bodies, and that we are at some point beyond the body, or could transcend the body, perhaps, although not denying the body, just that we're not necessarily physically dependent on the body, if that makes sense. So I was thinking deeply about these brain sciences that we have in this earth realm sort of studied and mastered. And I find that they resonate quite well. Like it's almost a perfect representation of what we also find in the spiritual world, where we say, when you're in a certain vibration, you're vibrating at a certain frequency, you only have access to the information of that frequency. It's that when you take your perspective or change your perspective to a higher or lower state, and you have that corresponding feeling state, that state of being that goes along with that perspective, that's how we access all this information. I'm sure you probably noticed this. That's probably why we start the conversation with a meditation, because it brings us into a certain frequency, and suddenly we have all this access to that calm, centered channel, and we're channeling the correct information. So I find this interesting because it sort of mirrors the brain study that we've done. They just use a different terminology. It's like speaking a different language to a certain crowd. So one will say, oh, the upstairs brain, the downstairs brain, and the other will say, it's your vibratory state. Channel a higher state of being, a higher state, and you have access to the different information. So I just wanted to bring that up just
Yeah.
for fun. But
Well, that's awesome, because I studied there's a hospital here, Mass General, and they have a mind-body center. And I went 2014. I've just been so into both ends, kind of the medical, like what actually happens when we relax and, channel, when we connect to spirit, through and they have all of these technical terms. And then I've studied it in different ways, but I like the way you said it. And it's, if the lower brain, which I call with my daughter, like animal mode. So I don't know how we came up with that, but if she's like really hungry, or if she's in a low vibe, I just know there's no reasoning. It's just, it's just about showing her that I'm calming her down, so that she knows it's usually just a hug. Or if she gets upset, because now we're unschooling, we're homeschooling, so she doesn't have a class, we'll go to play dates. We've just started going to play dates with masks on and sanitizing, but so she is able, and she'll get upset. And I know that, well, I can't, Johnny didn't know that if he, there's no reasoning. It's just, are you okay? And I usually just wait till she actually says, yes, I'm okay. And then she'll, on the Alanis Morissette Unschooling, what is it, webcast, or what do I want to call it? Did you see it?
I didn't see that. I've seen many articles that she's coming out with. I didn't know that she actually had like a video webcast. I'm so interested.
Yeah, it's not a video, it's just a recording.
Okay.
Yeah, I can send you the link. I can actually share the link, and wherever we share this. So she says, letting the children naturally get to the end of their emotion. So you're not saying, and this can bring up for me in childhood, what I was told is stop crying. I'm done. You have to be done. If you don't stop crying, I'm going to give you something, I'll give you a reason to cry. It was like, so my parents would use force to get the emotions to stop. And I felt, it wasn't good. And so Alanis Morissette's analogy of that situation is allowing them to fully get through the emotions so that they're not storing it in their body. And so that's yeah, I don't know if we're getting off topic, but yeah, so that's been so with the lower brain. Yeah. So I allow her to, as much as I can. Not every situation is perfect. And there are times when, I have to kind of simmer the emotions, but for the most part, if she is in an emotional lower brain state, to let her find the end rather than me demand it to end.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's been something that I've learned and been able to reshape. And then when we come to the higher brain, it's like everyone in spirituality, the third eye, and that's how you channel and connect. I've connected with angels and masters and all, everything happens in the higher side. So it almost makes sense that it's like lower vibe as it's lower on the body and higher vibe. So yeah, I'm with you on that point. So thank you for sharing.
yeah. Sometimes, and this is just theorizing. I don't think that I definitely don't claim to know, but it's just what comes to me. I have this thought that the body is sort of symbolism, right? It's like a symbolism for these deeper spiritual or conscious, vibratory things, and maybe the material world in general is more of symbolism and a reflection. So of course in the brain we're going to find all the reflections of these states that we describe before, sort of like the higher. See how it's so perfect. But I just have to say, I love what you brought up about like letting children really feel their emotions and move through those emotions. I think this is a huge part of new paradigm parenting. Is like, I know that's how I was trained as well, was trying to make the emotion stop. No, don't feel that way. And I think what that causes in adults is people who don't know how to handle these big emotions, and suddenly we're resistant to them, we're afraid of them, and we have trauma stored in our body, like you said. And then this is how the mirror of parenting shows up, because our children start to do these same things that for sure we did as a child. And then our response to that strong emotion, most likely negative, because those are the ones that are hard to deal with, those strong negative emotions mirror to us how we have learned to deal with our emotions. Because if we go to them and we're saying, stop doing this, or I'm going to punish you, or I'm going to reward you, or whatever to get you to stop, that's most likely what we're doing with our own self when we go into those states. But I think in a practical way, like, I know that these states can be uncomfortable. The fastest way out of them is actually to let them play their course. Like, the fastest way out is through. There's so many times, and I've made mistakes as a parent. I'm not perfect. There have been times where I have gotten frustrated and then just said, like, stop, and sort of played that energetic game back and forth when they're having a tough emotion. It typically doesn't make it stop. It does not make it any better. It makes it worse. And now we have a child who's crying even more. Now I'm upset. It's a mess. So in a sense of being of service to your child, but also making it easier on yourself, it really is to let the emotion play itself out. I found that it is helpful, just to add a little tidbit, to ask them if they want help, to let them know that you're there. Would you like help? Are you okay? And I can see, like, actually this happened yesterday. My daughter went into a deep state of, I guess you'd call it a tantrum. She was upset about something didn't go her way. And she was deeply upset, on the floor, kicking. And I just let her know I was there and asked if she was ready to talk. She was not ready to talk. So I did take a step away. I have 2 other children that I was attending to, but she knew that I was there. She knew that I was available for her when she was ready. And we just, the other kids and I sat downstairs like, it's okay. It's okay to be upset. We're going to let her feel that. And then check in once in a while. Because I do notice that there comes a point where they might be ready to talk. They might still be upset. And then you can sort of be their advocate or their guide out of the vibration when they're ready. But it's not out of needing it to change or having it be like, oh, I have to make this stop. It's more like, okay, now let's journey out. Let's find our way to that calm state again.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we're definitely on the same page, and I appreciate the extra tips, because in the heat of the moment, and I think that's why I'm so big on self-care, because that's my number one kind of strategy. That's my game, is for me to be present. It's a combination of me being well rested and me taking care of the things that I feel is important. And so I have more energy. And believe me, especially over the past 6 months, there has been times that, I wasn't as good as I could have been through the emotions. But I would say for the most part, I can, be there, get to the end, climb out, and then, get back to having fun. That's what I usually say. Can we get back to having fun now? And I always say it's good that this happened. It's not a bad thing when you get, when we do have strong emotions, it's indicating us to something. And it's good, because I like the Abraham Hicks says, when you're starting to feel low, that's your inner compass. So if your inner compass is starting to feel uncomfortable and low and negative, that's like an alarm going off, and we have to attend to that alarm. And the alarm is there for a reason, right? Whether we need to maybe change the plan or talk through something. So I usually end a situation once we're, like you said, back into a rational kind of calm place. Thank you for telling me. Thank you for even showing me that was uncomfortable, because now we know maybe we'll do something, so I usually say thank you, because I want to keep those emotions flowing. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, that's really nice.
Awesome. All right. Well, we have about 10 more minutes left. So what else would you like to tell us about?
Sure. I mean, just to continue the topic that we were on, I think that you hit on a really good point. Like those our pain centers, our emotional guidance system is totally serving a purpose. And I think that's a huge reasoning why we don't want to punish or make negative emotions go away. Your child's guidance system is working perfectly fine. It's like if we didn't have pain centers in our body, we'd go around touching fire and burning ourselves. It's sort of like letting you know where the boundaries are, or where you need to adjust. So this is like a big part of the paradigm that we're shifting out of. We're moving out of this punishment, like focus solely on the behavior and try to make the behavior change. It's really looking deeper and finding out, well, why is this behavior appearing? Why is this negative emotion appearing? And then working there. So working at the root. And that goes so deep. I mean, that goes so broad into many different things, but I just wanted to, I guess, point that out. Yeah. And let me, there was another little feeling there of interest, but what was it? Let's see. Oh, you mentioned Abraham Hicks, and I think a huge portion of what Abraham Hicks offers is pointing out that contrast is totally serving us. So we don't need to be afraid of challenging emotions or challenges happening. This is a huge part of the work that I do on myself and with clients as well, is that when just reframing challenges, I find that we are conditioned to resist challenges. We're conditioned to resist anything that our mind has decided shouldn't be happening, or we have this envisioning of like a perfect world that just goes smoothly all the time and everything's rainbows and butterflies, and if it's not matching up to that fantasy, we resist it completely and try to fight it and try to deny it and get away from it. But this is like the core work, I believe, of really shifting our our relationship with our child and our parenting experiences, because challenges are going to happen. As long as we can, and they're okay, this is the contrast, as we can dive into those challenges and find out that these are where all the learning lessons are. Like, we came here to learn, so why would we resist learning? And we don't need to look at it in a negative way. It's, everything can be accepted as it is. It's okay. And as we find the root, the nugget, the learning lesson in it, this is truly how we transform our life for the better, through our child. So as our child experiences, these sort of negative emotions and negative experiences, it's adding to their repertoire of experience, contrast, so they can better choose what they prefer and what they don't prefer. They've experienced the effect of holding a negative perspective, perhaps, or a perspective that is less than true than their higher self sees it. So they get this feedback of emotion that tells them, ooh, no, I don't know about that. This feels negative. Had they not had that, how would they choose differently? How would they know, what they really want? So it's almost like I know this gets a little on the fringe, but it's almost like we designed it this way. We designed it this way for ourselves, to come down here, and we agreed to it, to have these polarized feelings and experiences and contrasts and all of the juice of life. So I guess, if I know we're nearing the end, I guess we can end on that note and just say that this is what we came here for. And the real learning is in these contrasting experiences. And the best that we can learn to flow with them and allow them to be, and find out what the learning is underneath, the most easeful our time as a parent and a human being in general will be.
Awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. And I was just kind of preparing some notes and, choosing the meditation. And I chose two crystals, black and white, because I was thinking today, the first day of fall, the first day of autumn, is the day when the sun and, the light and dark is at perfect balance.
Oh,
Um, yeah. So, and then I was just thinking more about, like yin and yang. So, I mean, when you're in perfect balance, you're talking alignment, you're talking harmony. And if you just take this away, it's not perfect. It's not perfect balance. These are not the same size or anything, but just using the yin yang analogy is that it's so important to honor the dark and the uncomfortable, because we kind of yin yang, and that causes growth and expansion. And I think that's definitely what I came for. Um, so yay, I think we were kind of um, on the same page for sure.
awesome. Yeah, I agree. That's such a coincidence. That's so synchronistic. Is that today, you said? The day that,
Yeah, yeah, it
no wonder
is.
that was coming up in the conversation then. No wonder that came through. That's very interesting. But it was great talking to you, Andrea. It was
Yeah.
awesome to talk to you in person, and thank you for having this idea. Hopefully some of the topics that we touched on are interesting or of service to others.
Yeah,
So
and if someone I know, or if someone watching this, is like, yes, this is what I need, and they feel that you may be a good match, like, what's the best way for someone to get in touch with you? And do you kind of offer different packages, or maybe just a little bit about how someone could actually like start getting help? Because I'll tell you, I've had a lot of helpers, and having a coach has been, really helpful for me personally. So I encourage, I love the teamwork. I love coaching. I love collaboration. So tell us
yeah,
more.
sure. You can reach me primarily through social media is the easiest way. So like Instagram, Facebook. You can send me a private message. My profile is Angela Rose Young. I also have my own private Facebook group that I offer a lot of free support on. You could just get on there, and I try to do like daily inspirations and help through there. And there's also a community of people that offer their advice, like-minded parents, that can be very useful. And that's called Conscious Parenting Support Group.
Okay.
I'm also offering, right now, I'm offering free sessions. So free 30-minute sessions if you just have questions about you want to learn more about what conscious parenting is, or you want specific help on a challenge. It's a really good way to like dive into what a coaching experience feels like just in a short 30 or 45-minute call. And also, if people are interested in specifically self-directed education, then Andrea and I have created a group. Primarily Andrea, she did a lot of the work. She created a group for self-directed. It's called Self-Directed Education, Passion-Led Learning. And I like this group specifically because it is for those who are interested in some of the spiritual concepts that we talked about specifically. There is that vibe to it. So that's really fun. Yeah.
Yes, awesome. Yeah, we kind of, that was just a total passion. Like Bashar says, follow your passion, follow your passion. I'm like, I just want to gather people, especially spiritual people doing the unschooling and self-directed, because I feel like it has another layer to it. So yeah, everyone is welcome to contact Angela directly for coaching, and come check out our groups, hang out, build community. None of this is about perfection. It's like our practice, parenting practice, practicing parenting, practicing schooling, self-directed unschooling, really just enjoying life with our children, being our true self, allowing them to be their true selves, and following our passion and having a great life. Not a perfect life, obviously we're going to have the yin and yang, but accepting whatever comes our way, having the toolbox to accept what comes our way and use it to our advantage. I think that's when we start really making traction. So
yeah, beautiful.
All right, well, enjoy your first day of fall.
Thank you. You too.
And congratulations again on your pregnancy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
All right,
All right.
we will see you in the group.
See ya.
And reach
Bye.
out anytime.
All right.
All right, thank
Bye.
you. Bye.